Ecuador has now gone 16 games without losing, and in this video I'll be sharing my thoughts about the game versus Morocco, who is currently 8th best ranked according to FIFA and current African champions. For this game, Becachese had decided to play a line of 4 in the back with Franco, Ordóñez, Pacho, Hincapié, and a center mid, Caicedo, Vite, and Plata kind of playing like a 10, but more like a false 9, I would say, in some instances, with also Yeboah, Minda on the sides, and Valencia up top. And I think this is a very predictable lineup, even though many question the Franco on the right back. I think it's still predictable. Becachese has been doing this. For me, at least, one of the surprises was seeing Galíndez to start. I think that maybe Becachese would have seen the game versus Netherlands more important, more demanding, where he would try to play Galíndez there and maybe give Valle or Ramirez a try here. It was very logical to see Alan Minda start this game, not only because of the injury for Angulo, but also considering that he's not really playing for his club team right now, and the little bit of competitive minutes that he can get anywhere will be very useful for us in the World Cup if we need him. So in many cases, I think this is a lineup that is probably going to be what we might see in the World Cup. I think considering who we have available and who we have in our roster right now, this is probably the best we're gonna get. I think, at least for me, I was very disappointed to see Ener Valencia start. I wanted to see somebody new up there. I thought that this might have been the game to actually try something new, whether it was to start Rodriguez or Jordi Caicedo or Jeremy. I was just hoping to see somebody different up there, because in many instances we already know what Valencia can give us. We know what Yeboah can give us, and maybe exception for Minda, but also even with Plata sometimes we know what he can give us already. So seeing somebody different, putting somebody in a situation where we might find ourselves in the World Cup versus teams like this, seeing how they respond to these scenarios, for me at least, would have been really good. For the midfield and defensive line, I think I was pretty happy to see them start, especially with Ordóñez, Pacho, and Hincapié in the back. When it comes to the defensive line, you're going to see very little changes in matches that matter. You always want the defensive line to remain steady, focused throughout the whole game, so you're very rarely, unless an injury, going to want to make those changes. Caicedo and Vite were fine as well, even though I think that later in the game we started seeing a very big disconnect with Plata and Caicedo and Vite. But the other one to question is Franco, because even though we know defensively he gets the job done, we do lose a lot when it comes to kind of playing like Preciado, because Preciado will give us opportunities down the wing where Franco doesn't make those runs. From the start of the game to the end of the first half, I think we were clearly the better team. We maintained possession. We were very composed. We were very good, at least I would say, until the final third. When we lost the ball, when we lost possession, we were very quick and organized and intense to recover the ball. I don't think Morocco had more than a couple of seconds to even decide what to do once they regained possession, because we already had people on them. And like I said, it was very organized. I never got the impression that we had too many players go for the same ball. It seemed like everybody knew who to press, when to press, and how to kind of surround their team so that no passing options were made. And for the most part, we saw a lot of intercepted passes from Morocco, or them just trying to find a long pass and getting intercepted by our center backs. Another strong point that I saw in the first half was maintaining possession, especially with our center backs, our midfielders, Caicedo and Vite, Hincapié. And it's something that we've seen for a few games now, just the quality, our midfielders moving into those spaces, our center backs opening up out wide, maybe deeper into our own half to just create those spaces, and having the opponent attackers just run and try to chase after the ball. So I think that the quality is there, it's clear, and I never saw a moment where, even in tight spaces, I never saw a moment where we kind of just gave the ball away. But no, it's like the exact opposite. We were able to play ourselves out of danger, play ourselves out of tight spaces. One of the plays that I remember that I really liked was when Pacho sent the long ball from the defensive line behind the opponent's defensive line into Minda. And I know that I think I have a few people just say, listen, like they keep playing long balls, this and that. But this is something that Pacho does even with PSG. And it's great to see him try to do this with the national team. He kind of just waits for those runs from our attacking players and sees if he can just right away send them into space and have a breakaway. But just like how in many games we seem to be very strong in the midfield, or at least the build up from the center back to the midfield, we really struggled with finding those clear opportunities from our attacking players. And I think that a big reason as the game progressed was kind of seeing Plata's role, because at times, at least in the first half, I saw him making the same, not the same run, but at least in the same depth as Valencia on the same line. And I think that kind of caused a big disconnect, because while it's nice to have two runs being made down the center of the field and into the attack, I think that Valencia has to coordinate those runs a lot better, because it wasn't so that like there's two options. It just felt more like Valencia's doing his own thing and Plata was doing his own thing, and we didn't have anybody in that number 10 role that could kind of be there for support. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I see, even though today we had a fantastic game from Valencia in terms of hustling, in terms of fighting for the ball. I think that most of the times he puts himself in isolated situations, and we saw that. I think there was 2 runs in the first half where he just puts himself completely alone. And I think that that's the biggest thing with our attack. We just don't seem to have a coordinated run. We don't seem to time our runs. We sometimes hold on to the ball too long, and there's been instances in the game, even in the second half, where we just don't play that precise pass because either we don't expect the run or we don't think the people are going to be there. But at least for me in the first half, I started seeing Plata push up, and that's all good, but we have to find better ways to make this work. And I think we saw this twice in terms of successful shots because of maybe correct runs that were made. One was with Alan Minda. I think as he received the ball on the side, he started to cut in, and Plata was making the run toward the wing, kind of creating that space, creating that gap so he could continue moving forward a little bit more and get that opening for a shot. And those are the kind of runs that we want to see more often. We want to see runs with intentions. Okay, well, in this case, Plata wasn't meant to receive the ball, but at least he was being a decoy run, and Minda realized that this is an opportunity to shoot on goal, and it almost went in. And I think also with Caicedo, he made a long distance shot, but again, Valencia, kind of paved the way because he found himself on the right side of the box, kind of being that presence there. And as soon as Caicedo had that opening between the two defenders, the two center backs, he just went ahead and shot. And I think those are the kind of runs that we want to see, at least from shooting from distance. But there's no way we can't also do that where we find attackers or have at least wingers penetrate that final third inside the box, making those diagonal runs and just being there too. So at the start of the second half, I knew that we needed to put at least Preciado in. I would have wanted Yeboah to stay and Preciado to kind of be that overlapping run. I wanted to also see Minda come off. It just, again, he had that good play with Pacho, but I think before that, the first time he got the ball, he had a 1v1 versus one of the Moroccans, and he just seemed outrun, outplayed, and you knew that he wasn't up for the competitive game right now. But I also wanted to see shots. I wanted to see shots from Valencia. I wanted to see shots from Plata. I wanted to see Plata tuck a little bit closer to the midfielders. And in this game, he had fantastic plays. He had fantastic breakaways. But I also think that these came about when he was playing closer to the center mids. He was playing closer to Vita. He was playing closer to Caicedo. It's not like he was running and finding the ball on top of the box and then just being another number 9. So I think that we saw the best plays from Plata as he tucked closer to the center mids. But ironically enough, when we scored our goal, Plata found himself inside the box receiving the ball from Yeboah and helping out with the goal. But I do want to kind of think about how that goal came about, because something that I wanted to see was more action from Yeboah in situations that he's comfortable in, and that is driving to defenders and taking them on and cutting in. And that's what we saw early in the first half. He had an opportunity where he took on the defender, found Plata inside the box. But this is the kind of point that I wanted to make. When Plata received the ball, it doesn't really seem like he wanted to play a pass back, but it might have looked like kind of a bad first touch. And that play could have ended in many ways, because you kind of see Valencia making the run and like wanting to shoot it, Plata trying to get away from it last minute, and then Yeboah just being himself and just saying, no, it's gotta be me. So, and luckily he went forward and shot, and he knows how to shoot from those angles. But again, my point being that even though Plata was found there, and you sometimes you need this kind of luck in games, but it really felt like it happened by chance, that it wasn't well orchestrated or it wasn't meant to be done that way, and it just happened. It just happened because I really don't get the impression that Plata meant to make that pass back. It was more like a bad first touch. And after the goal, we get to the point where things start changing, and many things happen from my perspective that caused this change. One big reason is the changes that kind of have to be made because Hincapié gets injured. Minda isn't fit enough or isn't sharp enough to continue playing the whole game, and he's kind of getting lost in the field at this point. But Hincapié gets injured, he has to come off. Estupiñán goes in, Preciado goes in, and you kind of start losing players because of injuries, or because they just need to be changed. And this kind of affects the dynamic, at least with what the build out was, with what the composure was in maintaining possession, because again, Hincapié was big on that, was big with connecting with the midfielders and connecting with Bacho and Ordóñez, and we lost that. That was a big loss. So not only did we have to make changes, but also Morocco decided to bring in more attack, and little by little they started adding more numbers in the attack because they knew that they needed to score. And as the game flowed, we also lost Yeboah because of injury, and there goes the danger on the right side, and Preciado was pushed up to right back. And Preciado, I mean, he can play those positions. And it really depends on the context of the game, whether it makes sense or not. Where Yeboah he's there to unbalance defenders. He's there to take them all. He's there to cause trouble. Preciado doesn't give you that. He gives you presence. He gives you speed on the wings. He gives you attempts for crosses, but he doesn't give you much creativity, much of dragging defenders, much of distracting defenders. And again, that was another big loss. And then we saw Valencia go in for Rodriguez, and I think again, like we saw in the first goal, where It's something that I want to see more, and I think Becachese knows that he needs to get better at this, and that's playing in small spaces. Because again, how our goal came about was where Yeboah played it to Plata, and even though he might not have meant to make that pass, it was just a quick pass. It ended up looking like a quick pass and then a quick shot into those tight areas, and we know that at least Rodriguez can't do that. Rodriguez can't give us technical dominance in small areas, and we lost that there too. I mean, it's not that Valencia also gives us that, but at least with Valencia, I think it's a little bit better. Sadly, Morocco scores from a corner kick, and I think that that's at least one of the defensive takeaways that we have to know for the future is Plata cannot be defending in the box, because earlier in the game he gave away a penalty, and over here he's just not to the level to defend these crosses coming in. So the second half pretty much went out of our hands because of the changes that we had to make. The Moroccans taking advantage and adding numbers on the attack, but also the substitutes I think really didn't live up to what was needed, because especially on the left wing, I think there were plays where we went down the field and we really didn't have any winger play on the left, and I think it was Plata. I'm not sure. I think it was Plata who was supposed to move out to that side, but I think there was at least 2 runs where we were playing down the field and there was nobody there. So we really struggled with that, and right before the Moroccan goal, actually, this is something that I kind of questioning Becachese, because you started seeing him wanting to go ultra defensive. He was gonna put in Alcivar, which I really don't know why we play him. I would honestly try to pick up anybody else but him. He really doesn't offer us much, and he's not gonna give us anything in these type of games, let's be honest. But he was trying to play Alcivar and he was trying to play Torres. So that just shows that he was trying to just go ultra defensive before the Moroccan goal. But when the Moroccan goal happened, he decided to just play Jeremy, which I feel bad for the kid. I mean, he should have been given an opportunity to play more time. Honestly, I mean, I'd rather him get minutes and us lose. But at least give the guy a chance, give him opportunity, give him minutes. You know, because what if we need him in the World Cup? So I think that's something that I questioned about Becachese. I really don't know why he wanted to go ultra defensive. Sometimes I get the impression that he's so antsy, he's so emotional in the bench, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Because sometimes it's good because that kind of energy passes on to the players, where it gets everybody focused, it gets everybody animated. But at the same time, if you seem nervous, if you look nervous, then the players might also get that. And sometimes I think he's so antsy, he's so nervous that he bases his decisions on emotion, and I like to think that that's not true, but I really got that impression from him. Before I share my closing thoughts, I remember looking at the national team Twitter page and just seeing how they put that we had more possession in this game, but when I look at the other sites, I see that Morocco had more possession. So I thought that was interesting. And in my closing thoughts about the game, it just, again, as world class as our defense is, we're really thankful for Galindez. He's been a very, very key in us having our results recently, and sometimes I think that gets forgotten. I think our subs need to respond better with the demand of the game, because again, after the goal, we were forced to make subs while Morocco had it on the attack, and again, that can't be an excuse to just let go and not have that same kind of chemistry, composure, possession as we did in the first half. So I think we need to get better with that. But again, what I liked was that we did see a very dominant Ecuador in the first half, And up to that point, we saw that the only thing that we needed was a goal. We saw that we needed just to create a little bit more chances. And in the second half, early, we responded very well and we got that goal. But then, unfortunately, things happened. And I think for me, the best players for today were Ordóñez and Vite. Fantastic players, world-class players. Ordóñez is ready for the next level. He's ready to be in the top club, and Vite is another one. Even though he's playing in the Mexican league, I think that his vision of the game, sometimes his passes were not connecting, but I think it wasn't because of him. I think it had to just do with the rhythm that his mind was reading the game compared to his teammates.